Everybody, this is Jenn J here. I am coming on to you to talk a little bit tonight about real versus processed foods. So understanding the difference between the two and decoding nutrition labels and really just understanding the harmful effects on our health that eating processed foods can have. So for those of you who don't know me, my name is Jenn J. I'm an advanced holistic nutritionist. I have a very strong belief in the healing power of food. I have had a 17-year-long journey in battling my own hormones and my own health issues, which I have successfully managed to get under control, basically, through food, through lifestyle choices, through intention. And so that has really inspired me to help women take back control of their own health and their own lives. And I recognize as a mom myself that doesn't necessarily just start with her. Sometimes it starts with the kids and the family, and just being able to, be in control of what's going on in their lives, health-wise, nutritionally, and just lifestyle-wise. So I really like to focus on long-term lifestyle solutions. I don't believe that there is a quick fix to any lifestyle issue or symptom that we may be experiencing. I truly believe that it's health is a journey. Just going to mute everybody on here. Sorry about that. I can figure this out. There we go. Okay. Alrighty. So I do believe that health is a journey and that there is never a destination in our health. So we're always evolving, we're always learning, we're always doing more, we're always doing better. And sometimes we don't. And that's the way life goes. And so really looking at lifestyle solutions that are sustainable for everybody to actually adopt and incorporate into their lifestyle is really important to me. Tonight, like I shared, I'm going to be talking about processed versus real food. If you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the chat box or write them down and hold off until the end of the presentation. And then I'd be happy to answer any questions. I do have a couple minutes after the presentation to go through some if you have them. In the meantime, I thought it would be best if we kind of went over this little excerpt, okay, from a really great book called The Wild Diet. And it says here, so the modern food manufacturers have overwhelmed store shelves with foods that are nutrient poor, rotten, spoiled, dead, old, and contaminated with antibiotics, chemicals, and growth hormones. Refining has also brought us spectacularly cheap, pervasive, and fattening ingredients, namely and mostly well known as white flour, white sugar, high fructose corn syrup, and industrial seed oils. These fake foods distort your appetite and cause you to consume more calories than you require. This perpetuates a vicious cycle of stuffing your face, but never feeling totally satisfied or nourished. I really, really liked this excerpt for the very last sentence. This perpetuates a vicious cycle of stuffing your face, but never feeling totally satisfied or nourished. My slogan that I coach by, that I live by, is living healthy one bite at a time. And it really comes down to understanding how each bite of food that we take is either hurting our body or it's fueling and healing our body. And so understanding that certain types of food that we are eating are having the opposite effect on our desired health goals and outcomes is important in recognizing where you can start to incorporate healthier choices. And understanding that when we are choosing to eat foods that are not healing and supporting our body, we are actually leaving our body nutritionally deficit and not nutritionally satisfied in the way that our body was chemically designed to be. So what are processed foods, right? So processed foods tend to be really low in nutrients and yet really high in calories. So they tend to not keep us full for very long. We're hungry again after a really short time, which actually increases our cravings for more processed foods. They are designed with convenience in mind. They can be eaten quickly, anywhere, and require very little or no preparation at all. Highly processed foods generally include our snack foods and desserts, candies, chips, ice cream, cakes, all the kind of the junk that we turn to when we're really craving something. But this category also includes frozen pre-made meals, pops, breads, pastas, cereals, even certain, lunch meats and certain things found in the fridge and freezer aisles can also qualify as highly processed foods. But even highly processed animal products, see here as deli meats, chicken nuggets, hot dogs, even certain burgers. And unfortunately, as the plant-based movement grows, there are also a very large selection of vegetarian, vegan, and plant-based alternatives to meat that are also highly processed. So it's really important to note that, because I know that a lot of people are thinking, oh, I'm moving to a plant-based diet, so that means that I'm making healthier choices. And really, it depends on what exactly it is that you are buying, because the convenience plant-based alternatives are also highly processed in the same way that their meat alternatives would be. So what should you be avoiding on the label? If we're looking at labels and we're trying to figure out exactly what it is we should be eating, what should we first know to avoid? These are some of the highest or most commonly known chemicals and processing additives that we would find in foods that have ingredient lists. Okay, so high fructose corn syrup, refined sugars, trans fats, monosodium glutamate, sulfites and sulfates, artificial flavors and colors, and even, so I actually think it's red number 40 has been actually linked to ADHD and even hyperactivity in young children, artificial sweeteners, BHA, BHT, and genetically modified organisms, or GMOs, okay? Unfortunately, this list looks really simple, right? You're thinking, okay, I can write that down. I can take that to the grocery store. I can snap a picture with my phone and I can do this. Unfortunately, almost all of these ingredients, there's 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 of them here. Many of them go by hundreds of names. Sugar alone has several hundreds of names that can be found in the ingredients on different types of food. So it can be very, very difficult to actually identify these foods or these chemicals on the label of food that we're buying. And these chemicals, unfortunately, are causing a really, really big issue. So Dr. Gillian McKeith, an author of You Are What You Eat, he says this: these processes, which is the processing of our food specifically, okay, can cause allergic reactions and stress on the liver to process such chemicals, many of which are cancer forming. And children who are exposed to such processes can become hyperactive and display learning difficulties. So that's really, really scary. Those are some really big, scary words in there. Like right away there's a couple of words that pop out: allergic reaction, stress, cancer, hyperactivity, and learning disabilities. So, like, those are some really, really big words that pop out of just 1 or 2 sentences about how these chemicals in our food processing is actually affecting us at a cellular level within our body. But the actual side effects, what is it actually doing to us on a regular basis, and how is it interfering with our ability to be well and feel well? Well, it's simple, really. The effects of food additives are being studied, and they're showing that it's affecting our digestion. So we're more likely to have leaky gut syndrome, IBS, Crohn's, or even just bloating and indigestion. Appetite control, okay, or lack thereof. So remember earlier I talked about how these chemicals are actually perpetuating the cycle of turning to processed foods to continue to eat, because what we've done is when we are eating processed foods, we are filling our stomachs, but we are not fueling our cells the way that they're nutritionally supposed to be. And so our brain has not activated the part of our body that says that we are actually full, because we haven't received the nutrients that we need. And so instead, our body actually tells us we need to eat again. And unfortunately, so many of those chemicals and additives that are being used in the processing of our food actually contain addictive triggers that would actually activate the same part of our brain that gambling does, smoking, alcohol, addictive behavior, adrenaline even, and they actually activate the feel-good part of our brain that makes us feel good when we eat these foods. So that's just reinforcing the cycle of eating unhealthy options and foods that are high in food additives and decreasing our ability to actually control our appetite. But they're also causing brain fog and affecting our brain function, our memory, weight gain, our quality of sleep, our concentration, our energy levels. They are reducing the levels of our healthy gut flora in our body, which is necessary for assimilating our nutrients, which means if we do not have a healthy gut, all the good food that you're putting into your body when you are is not being appropriately and efficiently absorbed and used, unfortunately. So it's wasted effort. And then we are ending up with deficiencies in micronutrients, particularly in our children. If we are feeding them a lot of processed convenience foods, it is so important for our children to be eating the most nutrient dense foods as possible. Their bodies are growing. They require a lot of very healthy options in their body to support the growth. And not just physically, like they're growing emotionally, they're growing mentally, psychologically, socially. There are so many aspects of a child's growth period that can and are affected by the food that they eat, that it is super important that when they are eating, we really are feeding them one bite at a time and recognizing that every little bite that they're eating really matters. And I say this because we are all preparing to send our children back to school in whatever form or concept that is looking like for you in September. So whether you are keeping your children home to homeschool them, whether you are sending them back to the brick and mortar, or whether you are doing a combination of the two, your children are about to go back into a routine of some kind that is not consistent with what they've had for the last 6 months. And so ensuring that, you know, when we are feeding them in this new routine and fueling their bodies, we really need to be recognizing that the better the food we put into them, you know, the less mood swings we're going to have, the less emotional outbursts we're going to have, the better they're going to retain the educational information that they have missed out on the last couple of months. But that is so crucial for them to be learning. And the better they're going to recall the information as well. It also means that they're going to be sleeping better, or at least not having interrupted sleep cycles. As a contributing factor from their food specifically. So understanding that the deficiency in micronutrients, particularly for children, is extremely important when we are looking at the types of food that we're eating. But also too, these food additives are actually damaging our DNA. So they are getting into our cells, into our DNA, and they're actually attacking them and causing issues. Unfortunately, what happens with a lot of these chemicals when they get into our body is that our body doesn't recognize them as a true fuel source. And unfortunately, what they're doing is they're actually causing an immune response where our body recognizes an invader and heightens the immune system. And so instead of our body, you know, being ready and well protected to fight off true invaders, you know, flus and colds and bacteria and viruses that are going around. Instead, our body is busy dealing with these things that we are choosing and voluntarily putting into our body when we are buying foods that have been highly processed. So here are a couple of suggestions that you can do to, you know, be a little bit more aware about what you're eating and comparing the two versus like real versus processed food. So first of all, read the label. Does it have a label? Okay. Real whole food does not have a label. When you go to the store and you pick up a cucumber, there's no label on it other than a checkout sticker. You know, when you buy a bag of, you know, maybe cow's milk, there's no label on that. There's a nutritional information fact chart. That's it. So reading the labels is your first step in understanding whether you are eating a real food or a processed food. Now, there are real foods. Say you were looking at like a plant-based milk, okay? This is all based off of real whole ingredients. and has just been processed in a way that is easier to consume. So are there 5 or less ingredients? That's really important. If there are more than 5 ingredients and the ingredient list is really looking like a science experiment, you might want to put that option back on the shelf. Generally, a lot of your processed foods will be found in the middle of the grocery store, up and down the aisles. So if you are shopping the perimeter of the grocery store, the fresh foods, the fresh baked breads, the refrigerated section, and then the freezer section, and really looking for whole foods in their natural or as close to natural state, you are less likely to run into these types of chemicals that are causing so much issue within our bodies. But also too, when you're looking at these ingredients, are you recognizing them? Do they stick out to you? Are they something that you understand? Can you pronounce the words? If you can't pronounce them, you should probably put it back. It's probably not something you should be eating on a regular basis. Look at the sugar and the sodium content per serving. It's important that these are really low. Sugar, basically a low amount of sugar in a serving is less than 5 grams. Anything higher than 5 grams for sugar, between 5 and 10 would be, I would say, is okay for moderation. Over 10 is like a definite no. That is too much sugar in one serving, particularly because in a lot of these foods, that would be a refined sugar, and refined sugar is astronomically well known for causing inflammation within the body and attacking the body in so many ways. If you're interested in learning more actually about how sugar does affect the body, I do a presentation about sugar and some of the ways that you can reduce sugar in your life. So just reach out to me after the presentation and I'd be happy to let you know about when I'm doing that one next, okay? But a lot of times, unfortunately, a lot of foods, if they say like fat-free or low fat, sugar is actually added to reduce the fat levels. And so while you think that you're getting something healthy because it doesn't contain, one source of bad, in actuality, to compensate for that, there's more of something else that's not good. So reading those labels is really important, and really look for foods in their most natural states. Foods that have not been processed or have been minimally processed. So a really great example of a minimally processed food is almonds versus almond butter. Okay, that is minimally processed. It has been worked. It has been, mechanically changed. But if there have not been added ingredients into that almond butter, then you're looking at a pretty safe way to eat that, or it's pretty safe choice. Whereas if you're looking at certain peanut butters, I know a lot of peanut butters have added sugar. There's really no need for added sugar in peanut butter, and unfortunately 1 tablespoon has over 5 grams of sugar. So I mean that's really high in 1 tablespoon, and I don't know many people who eat just 1 tablespoon of peanut butter in a sitting. So looking for foods that are in their most natural state, in as close to you would find them as in nature, is your best option for food. And if you can't find them that way, or you want a little bit of variety and you want to change things up, looking for them in their minimally processed form. But another really great way to kind of be more aware and start taking more action is just aim to replace the ingredients in one meal with entirely whole foods in their natural state. So instead of buying like a really highly processed pasta, looking for one that has minimal ingredients, clean ingredients, just a couple of, so no dyes, just, basic wheat or whole wheat. Of course, the white wheats are, as we mentioned earlier, also unfortunately contain a lot of processing and contain very little nutrients. But looking for, say, like a whole grain pasta that is really just whole grain with possibly some egg as a binder and some water. That would be a really simple pasta alternative to some of the other ones on the market that are just not as healthy and are nutritionally devoid or not nutritionally dense. So just wrapping your mind around the mindset of being aware of what chemicals you're bringing into your meals, and just, focus maybe just on suppers right now, that you're going to start to reduce the types of chemicals and ingredients that you're using. But you can also set a goal to remove a certain type of additive from your diet. So say you were, you're learning all about the horror stories of high fructose corn syrup. Well, you could start by looking at everything that you currently buy that does have high fructose corn syrup and start looking for alternatives in that. Those are really great ways to start being aware of that. But truthfully, the easiest way is just to eat more whole foods, fruits, vegetables, legumes, grains. Even certain meats are, very minimally processed if they haven't had anything added to them. If they're just simply a clean cut of meat, then you have a more healthy alternative than if you were looking at something that, has maybe been seasoned or has been grown and raised in an environment that is supporting the use of chemicals. So just making those small changes and sticking to whole food, real food. One of the ways I really like to support my body and that of my clients and pretty much, everybody, we can't get enough fruits and vegetables in our diet. And studies are now showing that we need anywhere between 10 and 13 servings of fruits and vegetables every day for optimal health. For most of us, that's not realistic. It's not realistic in a financial sense. It's not realistic in an actual physical sense of the size of our stomachs. It's not realistic in the sense of our busy lifestyles. It's not convenient. And so one of the easiest ways to at least help support you in that journey of eating more whole foods, fruits and vegetables is to consume and eat the Juice Plus capsules. So these contain concentrated whole food plant-based nutrition from more than 30 fruits, veggies, berries, grains, and oils, okay? And these contain a variety that most of us don't even eat on a monthly basis, let alone a daily basis. I know even myself as a plant-based vegan nutritionist, I do not eat all of these on a weekly basis. It's not unless I'm eating my Juice Plus, okay? So it's a really easy and convenient way to support your body in getting more whole food, real food into your body to protect you and your cells from, the days that we don't have that convenience factor of avoiding the processed foods. The shakes are another really, really great way to support a healthy gut. And we've already shown how an unhealthy gut would be contributing to certain behaviors and the issue of assimilating and absorbing our nutrients. So when we are actually making good choices, we may not even be getting the full effect of them. So having a very healthy gut is important. That's where the prebiotic fiber in this plant-based, vegan, gluten-free, dairy-free protein powder is so, so important and really helps to support your body in doing what it does best, healing from the inside out, protecting and actually using the nutrients that you're putting into it. Now, I actually wanted to get a little bit scientific here with you tonight. I don't normally do this, but I thought that this was so cool, okay? So right here, for those of you who have not heard about the Juice Plus products, it is one of the most one of the most scientifically researched nutrition products in the world. Okay, so I actually grabbed a couple of excerpts from some of the research that actually support what I've been talking about with you tonight. So as we've seen, like the chemicals and the additives are getting into our body at a cellular level. They are harming us. And unfortunately, in our busy lives, it's not realistic for us to actually remove all processed and food additives from our diet. It's just not. It's difficult. And it would be unrealistic to think that somebody could do that full time, 100%. And so, while we don't have control over all of the chemicals that are coming into our body, we do have control over the fact that we can counteract those chemicals and actually protect our body at a cellular level and including our DNA. So here's a couple of studies. You can see here at the bottom, the minimized text is actually the published studies. This is where you can find the published studies. But basically, the antioxidants from fruits and vegetables in the Juice Plus capsules can help maintain healthy DNA. So combined results from 6 studies has shown that Juice Plus reduces DNA damage, and research on nutrition and gene interactions actually demonstrated that several genes involved in lipogenesis, inflammation, energy, and insulin metabolism were changed beneficially after Juice Plus intervention. I know that sounds like a ton of words that we probably don't understand, but what it is saying here is so big. Our DNA has actually been scientifically shown to be reduction of damage to our DNA just by consuming and eating Juice Plus. Okay, so that is a really big deal, because if we can't control everything that's going on inside of our body from the food and the chemicals that are in our food, imagine if we could have just a little bit of control just by doing one simple thing, one simple change in our life that can actually help us reduce that DNA damage and maybe even put up some protective barriers. I have one more for you. This one's really cool, okay? The bioavailability. Several researchers have studied the bioavailability. This is the absorption of the key nutrients found in the Juice Plus, and reported that Juice Plus effectively increased plasma levels of antioxidant nutrients and other phytonutrients in children and in young, middle-aged, and elderly adults. And you can see the smaller text here. That is all of the studies that support that. That is crazy. So remember how I talked about earlier how these food additives and these chemicals and these processed foods are not allowing our body to actually absorb our nutrients when we are making the right choices and we're eating real foods. Now imagine again, if we had control just a little bit by making one simple change in our day, by eating Juice Plus, that's going to help us support the absorption of nutrients. Can you imagine how incredible that would be? Like just having a little bit of control over what's happening internally that we don't have control over otherwise. And so a really great way to incorporate, eating more real food and supporting our body nutritionally is to join the Shred program. Okay, this is a lifestyle program that's based on 10 core concepts: eating more fruits and vegetables, drinking more water, exercising, reducing processed foods. You can see there, number 8, reduce or eliminate processed foods and eliminate artificial and refined sugars. We've just talked about how these are affecting our bodies and what they're doing even to our children. So, the really great thing is, because Shred is a lifestyle, this is family friendly. So you can do this with your kids. Your kids can be any age and they can be participating in the Shred with you, which is so much fun, because you are setting healthy examples for your children. And some of the results, of course, are always fun to review, but you're craving more fruits and vegetables, healthier weight, better recovery, improved sleep, increased energy, improved mental clarity. And see, these are even some of the things we talked about earlier that are, effects of these food additives that we are exposed to on a regular basis. But the Shred is more than that. It's also a big community. So you get the Shred Guide ebook, which has success tips and education. It has healthcare professional recommendations, has recipes. The Facebook community support group is really great for having accountability and a little bit of fun. There are meal plans in there. There is meal prep videos, a lot of even workout videos and recorded workout sessions that go up in there. And then there's just really the ability to, tap into a community of people who are also living this journey, because it's an imperfect journey. It's never going to be 100% every day. And so just having the support of the people around you who are on this journey can really make the difference in you being successful at reaching your health goals. So I want to leave you with just one more little excerpt from another book. I'm just full of them tonight, actually. Here it is. You deserve the best, so eat more real food. When we eat more whole foods, real food, our bodies are satisfied, and as a result, we end up consuming fewer calories and get more of what we need to stay healthy, prevent and fight illness, and maintain a healthy weight range. Your health is not something you biologically lose as you age. It is something you build or give away a little each day in what you do and what you don't do. And that's from Jason Calton. So I thought that was a really great way to wrap up this, and really ties into exactly what I've been saying, that healthy living one bite at a time is really as simple as being aware of what you're eating and how each bite of what you eat is important to healing and protecting our bodies. So I'm going to leave all of this right here for you. And thank you all